Eastern Island, very interesting place. I spent some time studying it, and then eventually, when I got out of the ancient civilization study, this was actually my original field. I always wanted to just study ancient civilizations and pyramids and Göbekli Tepe. When I became a professional trance channeler, I realized all I knew was incorrect. Now I know the truth about pyramids and other ancient sites, including Eastern Island, the topic of this video. And the truth about the Eastern Island is definitely not what we see on the internet. First of all, the Eastern Island is a tiny little place, minuscule little volcanic island, Polynesia, and it sits in a very special territory of Chile. It's quite far from Chile, but it still sits, it's quite west of Chile. And it's one of the most isolated little islands that I think anywhere in the world, probably one of the few. And I did a calculation once using Google Earth. And the pictures we always see about the Eastern Island, you see these heads popping out of the ground, or heads sitting on the ground. Dozens and dozens of them, sometimes in groups of 5, sometimes in groups of 30. But actually there's just over 900 heads total, just over 900 on that whole island. So these monumental head statues, they're called moles. And in '95, it was actually declared a World Heritage Site, which is a good thing, which is a great thing. I fully support that. But the current history says that this island is 13th century, 14th, 15th, or 16th century, those four. And then they're guessing in between, like everything else in our ancient civilizations. They always guess and throw random numbers, random builders, random creators that have nothing to do with the original builders, such as pyramids. And they're still arguing about who came there first, who discovered it first. They argue about revision to a revision of another old revision. So you're revising an existing lie. You can't make up your mind, it's a lie anyway, so just throw any number at it. So unfortunately, our human history, ancient history, is quite hidden from us. We've had 3 floods. We've had magnificent structures of Tartaria, or built by the surviving Atlantean technology. We have the true builders of pyramids. We're never gonna know. Pyramids are all across Amazons, China and America, or Latin America. I mean specifically Latin America. The temples of pyramids will never be told about. Never. What about the removal of bells from all the buildings in Europe? Antennas, wireless technology, including mass amount of technology working with sound, or technology working with sound and frequency. Technology that produces something very interesting that I don't want to even say on camera. But so much of this information will never ever be told to our children and our children's children. Humans are just being brainwashed with revised history, particularly by ancient civilizations that were here working with extraterrestrial races, or the presence of ETs here on Earth. And these heads is one perfect example of that. So what we see is these massive, huge humanoid heads with tiny little skinny bodies appearing all over this island, and the facial appearance is always very serious. No smile, no teeth, nothing, just big chins, huge noses, very serious faces, closed mouths at all time, and they all look like adults, not like children. They're not depicted as children. The archaeologists from UCLA have a beautiful picture, and they've developed this bond with the natives there, and they've got permission from the government there as well to dig around a few of these heads to be able to find out exactly what is below the head. And what they found out is, as per their pictures, is that the entire head on the top does not show the body. The body is much longer than the statue that's above ground, above soil, and the body is completely hidden in the soil. And that body is extremely skinny, lean, and very vertical, straight features of the skin, of the spine, but also extremely large bellies, almost as if they were pregnant. The men were pregnant, and they were able to see that a lot of these spines were straight, but their bellies are huge, which is completely odd. And this is another one of the sites that is also connecting to a site 400 kilometers east that today is flooded. Oceans covered it, but there's another ancient site there. And a lot of the heads out of these 900, they're stolen, they're taken, and they're brought off island. This was done before. And I don't mean going back to the day when it was discovered. So in relation to discovery, that's a good topic. So this guy from Holland named Jacob, who apparently traveled to Eastern Island with the boat and searching for islands, and he found Eastern Islands. So a bullshit story we're told, just like Christopher Columbus discovering America or Americas in 1495 or whatever the year is, or World of Americas on his ship called Santa Maria. I was even told that in school, along with Marco Polo. I was born back in Europe, so we were told about Marco Polo as like the god of all gods. So same type of worshipping of these explorers, so manipulated history, truly. Americas was discovered way before, and it was heavily occupied at that time with many, many, many different species. The natives know this. The natives know this. Of course they know this. And as far as who made the heads, so that I did find out. And as far as the Eastern Island heads, the locals hide that story. They know the story, but they tell each generation the story. And they don't want to share it with the public, which is fine, of course, because a lot of people don't appreciate ancient civilizations, go there just to take a picture and rub themselves against a statue and take a stone away or chip away and all these disrespectful things. And when it comes to the race that was extraterrestrial, yes, they were from Pleiades, and they were not just living there on that island, but they were living around in other surrounding regions that are flooded now, so they're no longer above sea level, and of course Google isn't going to tell us about it. But these heads were installed intentionally, oh yeah, and very, very proudly by this race for the humans that live on that island region. And they were native to that island region, better said, but there were humans there that lived and worked with this extraterrestrial group, humanoid, benevolent, very, very loving, very, very benevolent, peaceful race who truly came from their own planetary system and wanted to experience human consciousness, not in the form of an incarnation, but in the form of sharing and co-creating to see what it's like to be a human, what it's like to do that. And they had very big heads, yeah, absolutely. This was in fact a Pleiadian humanoid race that came from Pleiades. But the interesting thing I found out is that they only ever had 2 generations within the Pleiades. They're not a Pleiadian ancient race, just 2 generations, that's it. And then I tracked their history and found out that they came from an area prior to that. They came from an area called Monoclus constellation. I actually know a reptilian being as one of the beings from that constellation, friendly to me. And at the time of their presence in the Pleiades, these humanoid race, they saw a lot of extraterrestrial races of all calibrations and energy orientations and species as well were working with humans. So they said, okay, if these beings are working with humans, why don't we go work with humans? And these guys really, this race decided to come down here. They did use ships, real physical ships that they land on that island, middle of nowhere, but they were extremely benevolent and caring to this native race, and they helped them with technology, they helped them with intelligence, they helped them with enabling some of their DNA, which was locked away a long, long, long time ago, like the rest of our DNA. And they expressed to this humanoid race that they wished to co-create with them, not in a way of sexuality or reproduction or sperm or eggs or anything like that. It's just coexisting together. And about 350 to 400 years or so. So for 350 to 400 years, they lived there, and then they said to the humans, hey, we're going to be taken off. We want to go back to where we came from, and we're not going to be coming back. Is there anything we can do before we leave? So the humanoids, that the native race, the humans, the natives said, well, we're devastated. We thank you for your friendships and all these generations of friendships and trust, but we desire to have something that will remind us of you. So the extraterrestrial race gave them a gift, and the gift was not technology. I verified that it wasn't technology. But this race, using their own technology, created these monumental statues of their own top leaders. So the men within their race, the male extraterrestrials within that race. And yeah, the description that I was even given is they looked like chubby little men. Chubby, short guys with big bellies, massive heads, and short feet. So it was very interesting to find out that a race like that even exists. A friend of mine actually just recently was channeling, and he was speaking about a race that is 1 meter tall, humanoids, 1 meter tall, and then 17 meters wide, with a massive oval stomach. So there's so many different species and races in the Pleiades. I mean, that's why we can't say Pleiadians. Well, what's a Pleiadian? Pleiades is a system. There's reptilians, insectoids, humanoids, aquatic, zetas, all kinds of shits there. So we got to be very specific when you say Pleiadian. What do you mean? What are species? And these guys were very benevolent. They used very specific, precise technology to be able to extract stone, to be able to levitate stone, shape the stone so that faces look like the stone and vice versa, rotate it to a specific degree, just like pyramids are rotated to always perfect north, and then separate them equally. And the way they separated them, they always placed the main leader in the middle with the surrounding based on the rank. And there's 900 of these statues all across this island we call Eastern Island. And each head is approximately 12 to 15 metric tons. So no humans carried this. And the last one, or the longest one, I think it's 70 feet. From the feet of the statue to the top of the head, so 70 feet. It's a pretty heavy statue. So clearly this was used to move around using some sort of levitation, some sort of advanced technology. But the local civilization at that time, they did not place those heads in any way. This was explained to me, of course. They had no means in any way to place those heads, move it around, just like no Egyptians in any way, shape, or form moved or built pyramids in Egypt. They had no means to do that. This was done by advanced civilization that worked together with humans, not by some UFO ships. So this extraterrestrial race from Pleiades, I know the race, it's not important, but they're very unique, shapely, extended bellies, perfectly straight spines, massive heads, and another unique thing about them is they had much, much longer fingers than we do. So we look at our hands, we have normal fingers, we're all used to it, but imagine having a finger this long. Imagine having a finger size of your arm. So this is what this race was known. And I think it's a wonderful story, wonderful, wonderful thing, a wonderful co-creation between an extraterrestrial that's advanced, coming down here to work with, let's say, primitive humans, third density or fourth density humans, telepathic or not. I think that's a great thing to see. I'm happy when I hear those kind of stories. And as a proud reptilian channeler, I always take great pride, which is at the forefront of my consciousness, to be able to pair up a worthy, respectful, open-minded, and appreciative human with an appropriate reptilian race that are willing to work with such mindsets. And in this case, this was a great match with this native tribe that worked with this extraterrestrial humanoid race. It's a great thing. And I'm very glad that they were able to leave this gift, that even our generation now can go there on vacation or sightseeing trips to be able to see something so magnificent and respect it.